Did you have any trouble getting in?
No, the guy with the rubber glove was surprisingly gentle.
Ooh, somebody stop me.
That's a lovely accent you have. New Jersey?
Yes, that is the Jim Carrey that you know and love, but do you remember this one? Alright, Gen X, we're about to test your TV memory again. Of course, you remember Family Ties and Who's the Boss, but if you remember all 6 of these 80s sitcoms without a Google search, you officially qualify for Retro TV Genius status. Today, we're covering 6 more 80s sitcoms that time forgot, and if you missed part 1, where we covered Double Trouble, Charles in Charge, My Two Dads, and a few other deep cuts, check out the link in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe because it really does help the channel, and it's way easier than trying to catch your favorite song on the radio with perfect precision to press the record button. Oh, that was just me? Anyway, stick around for number 1 because it features one of the biggest stars today and one of the strangest fictional rock bands in TV history, and that's saying something for the decade that gave us Jem and the Holograms. Alright, let's get into the countdown with number 6, She's the Sheriff, syndication.
Okay. Well, Richard, we can't go around arresting people without any proof.
What do I look like, an amateur?
Suzanne Somers made her TV comeback with She's the Sheriff, an oddball sitcom about a widow who takes over her late husband's job as sheriff in a small Nevada town. It's a classic fish-out-of-water premise that marks Somers' return to television after her infamous departure from Three's Company in 1980, a TV breakup as dramatic as the swap out of Aunt Viv in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. What you might not know is that the show had a bizarre origin story. It was originally developed as a CBS pilot called Cass Malloy in 1982, with Caroline McWilliams in the lead role after Annie Potts was dropped from the part. The pilot didn't get picked up, but creators Dan Gutzelman and Steve Marshall later found success with Growing Pains, which gave them enough clout to resurrect the concept for syndication. In a bit of sitcom recycling, George Weiner, who played Deputy Max, and Lou Richards, who played Deputy Dennis, appeared in both the original pilot and the syndicated series, clinging to their roles tighter than a scrunchie on a side ponytail. The show created an odd contrast by casting Somers, fresh off her sex symbol status from Three's Company, as a law enforcement figure struggling to be taken seriously. With a supporting cast that included Weiner and Richards, as well as Taliesin Jaffe as Somers' wide-eyed son, the show had potential but often felt like it was recycling jokes from sitcoms that did it better. Plots leaned hard on contrived misunderstandings and slapstick setups, the kind that made you wonder if the writers just dusted off old Three's Company scripts and swapped the beachwear for badges. She's the Sheriff was part of NBC's failed Primetime Begins at 7:30 campaign, which tried to push first-run syndicated sitcoms into early evening slots, a move about as risky as trying to perm your own bangs. In a fitting epilogue, TV Guide ranked She's the Sheriff number 44 on their 50 worst TV shows of all time list in 2002, a dubious distinction that cemented its place in the annals of television failures, right next to Manimal and The Secret Diary of Desmond Pfeiffer. So, where are the stars now? Suzanne Somers became a fitness icon, you know you had a thigh master, and best-selling author before her passing in 2023. George Weiner remains a go-to character actor, popping up in everything from Spaceballs to Veep. Taliesin Jaffe found a second act as a voice actor and Critical Role regular, becoming a fan favorite in the tabletop RPG world. Number 5, We Got It Made, NBC and syndication. Alright, now we're going with a sitcom that feels like it was cooked up by a network executive with a checklist. 2 single guys, check. A live-in maid, check. And just enough 80s cheese to clog an entire VCR, double check. We Got It Made centers on Jay Bostwick, played by Tom Villard, and David Tucker, originally played by Matt McCoy. They're a couple of carefree bachelors who hire a live-in maid, Mickey McKenzie, played by Terry Copley. The catch? Mickey is young, blonde, and about as qualified for housework as a toddler with a leaf blower. It's basically Three's Company in reverse, or The Odd Couple with a side of slapstick and hairspray. The show premiered on NBC on September 8, 1983, airing right after Cheers in the coveted Thursday night lineup, a slot practically engineered for success. And for a minute, it looked like We Got Made might actually live up to its name, pulling in decent ratings early on. But as quickly as it sparked, the buzz fizzled, and NBC shuffled it to the TV graveyard of Saturday nights, where it quietly wrapped its run, like a sitcom with its laugh track set to mute. The original cast included Stephanie Kramer as David's no-nonsense attorney girlfriend, Claudia. Yes, this is the same Stephanie Kramer who would swap sitcom hijinks for high-octane action just a year later as the tough-as-nails detective Dee Dee McCall on Hunter. Jay's girlfriend, Beth Sorensen, was played by Bonnie Urseth, a reliable character actress who would later appear on shows like Beverly Hills 90210 and Full House. But then came the 1987 reboot, because if there's one thing TV history has taught us, it's that reviving a canceled show usually works out about as well as reheating seafood. Terry Copley and John Villard returned, but this time David Tucker was played by John Hillner instead of Matt McCoy, a swap handled with the same zero acknowledgement approach that Bewitched used when it replaced Darren. But unlike Bewitched, no one wrote letters, started conspiracy theories, or even seemed to notice.
Morning, Mick.
What's that supposed to mean?
You sure look nice today, Mick.
Better than I usually look, right?
The reboot also introduced a couple of new characters. A Greek-American father and son duo, Officer Max Papavasilios Sr., played by Ron Karabastis, and his teenage son Max Jr., played by Lance Wilson White, who had a hopeless crush on Mickey. The tone got a bit looser too, leaning harder into slapstick and innuendo, like the writers decided to embrace their inner Benny Hill. This revival strategy almost never works, but somehow the syndicated version hung on for an entire season, making We Got Made one of the rare sitcoms to flop twice in separate TV incarnations. As for the stars, Tom Villard went on to appear in films like Heartbreak Ridge and My Girl before sadly passing away in 1994. Matt McCoy became well known for his roles in two Police Academy films, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle and as Lloyd Braun on Seinfeld. John Hillner later appeared in Broadway shows like Le Cage aux Fools and films like Say Anything. Terry Copley starred in I Married a Centerfold, posed for Playboy in 1990, and later became a born-again Christian, leaving Hollywood in the late 90s to focus on her faith, a fitting exit for a star of one of TV's more awkward attempts at a second act. Number 4, Jennifer Slept Here, NBC. Next up, we have Jennifer Slept Here, a 1983 sitcom that dared to ask the bold question, what if a ghost from the golden age of Hollywood haunted a suburban family's house, and it was a comedy? Ann Gillian stars as Jennifer Farrell, a glamorous 1940s movie star who met an absurd end when she was run over by an ice cream truck that accidentally backed up outside her Los Angeles mansion. 6 years later, the Elliott family moves into her former home, and Jennifer, now a ghost, decides to stick around, befriending their teenage son Joey. Naturally, Joey has a tough time convincing his family that their house is haunted, because if TV parents actually listened to their kids, the 80s would have had zero sitcoms. The show leaned heavily into campy special effects, with Jennifer walking through walls, making objects float, and occasionally possessing other characters. One standout episode featured Zelda Rubinstein, the tiny psychic from Poltergeist and Teen Witch, parroting her own horror roles as a fake exorcist trying to trap Jennifer's spirit in a jar. And in another memorable cameo, Debbie Reynolds dropped by as Jennifer's ghostly mother, proving that even in the afterlife, family drama never really dies. The theme song was performed by Joey Scarberry, the same artist who sang The Greatest American Hero, believe it or not. And it was co-written by series star Ann Gillian herself, a fun bit of trivia that puts her in the rare category of actors who've actually contributed to their show's theme music.
I just saw the most beautiful ghost in the world, and she slept here.
Despite its ghostly gimmick and a few genuinely clever moments, Jennifer Slept Here struggled to find an audience, quickly vanishing from NBC's lineup like a ghost at sunrise, canceled after just one season. Still, the show managed to snag an Emmy nomination for technical direction and a Young Artist Award win for John P. Navin Jr., who played Joey. Surprising accolades for a series that disappeared faster than the cassette tape section at your local mall. As for the cast, Ann Gillian continued acting through the 90s before shifting to motivational speaking after a highly publicized battle with breast cancer. Meanwhile, John P. Navin Jr. made a few memorable 80s appearances, like the terrified cousin in Vacation and a guest spot on Tales from the Dark Side, before stepping away from Hollywood. Now, if you're enjoying this trip down memory lane, be sure to hit that like button. It helps more nostalgic TV enthusiasts discover these forgotten gems, and if you remember watching any of these shows when they first aired, drop us a comment and share your memories. Now let's continue with the countdown. Number 3, Marblehead Manor, syndication. Next up is Marblehead Manor, a wacky 1987 sitcom about the eccentric staff of a wealthy estate. Imagine if Downton Abbey had been written by the same folks who came up with the Beverly Hillbillies, and you'll have a pretty good idea of the vibe they were going for. The series starred Paxton Whitehead as Albert Dudley, the long-suffering butler who'd known his employer since childhood, and Linda Thorson as Hilary Stonehill, the glamorous but materialistic lady of the manor. The cast also included a pre-Seinfeld Michael Richards as Rick, the bumbling groundskeeper who was basically a proto-Kramer, and Star Trek alum Phil Morris as Jerry Stockton, the snarky chauffeur. Rounding out the ensemble were Bob Frazier as Randolph Stonehill, the eccentric heir to a corn oil fortune, and Diana Ortelli as Lupe, the sassy maid whose mischievous son Elvis added a bit of chaos to the manor. The show leaned heavily into broad slapstick humor with plots that included everything from mistaken identities to Soviet ballet dancer mix-ups. It was the kind of series that embraced every sitcom trope in the book and then threw in a few more for good measure. Marblehead Manor was so quickly forgotten that it even became the punchline of jokes on other sitcoms. In one episode of The Golden Girls, when Rose asks Blanche if she's upset about a fight with her daughter, Dorothy sarcastically responds, "No, Rose, she's upset because Marblehead Manor is only on once a week." And on Newhart, a character quipped, "Timing is everything in a farce, hence the failure of Marblehead Manor." When other sitcoms are roasting you on air, you know you've truly achieved cult status. Just not the kind you were hoping for. After the show ended, Paxton Whitehead continued acting in TV, film, and theater with memorable roles in Friends and Back to School until his passing in 2023. Linda Thorson remained active in TV and film, including guest spots on Schitt's Creek and Little Birds. Michael Richards, of course, found massive success as Kramer on Seinfeld, while Phil Morris continues to work steadily, most recently appearing as Silas Stone in Doom Patrol. Number 2, The Duck Factory, NBC. You might not remember The Duck Factory, but you definitely know its star, a young Jim Carrey in his first TV lead role. Before he became the king of rubber-faced comedy in Ace Ventura and Dumb and Dumber, Carrey played Skip Tarkenton, a fresh-faced cartoonist trying to make it in the cutthroat world of low-budget animation. It was an early glimpse of Carrey's range, showcasing his ability to play a genuinely sweet, understated character years before he'd become known for talking out his backside on the big screen.
Excuse me, I'd like to ask you a few questions.
The show premiered on NBC on April 12, 1984, and ran for just 13 episodes, wrapping up on July 11, 1984. It was created by TV legend Alan Burns, the co-creator of The Mary Tyler Moore Show, who actually started his career as a writer and animator for The Rocky and Bullwinkle Show. Burns teamed up with animation veteran Herbert Klein, known for his work on classics like Mr. Magoo. The cast was stacked with real animation industry talent, including Don Messick, the voice of Scooby-Doo, in his only live-action role. Messick not only played Wally Wooster, a veteran voice actor at the struggling animation studio, but also provided the voice of the fictional cartoon character Dippy Duck within the show.
Hurry, Bullwinkle! The show's about to start!
I'm coming as fast as I can.
Wave to the people!
Set in a chaotic animation studio churning out cheap, low-quality cartoons for TV, The Duck Factory had a quirky behind-the-scenes vibe that was a bit ahead of its time. Think 30 Rock, but with hand-drawn ducks instead of sketch comedy. Despite a strong supporting cast that included Jay Tarsis as a cynical writer, Jack Gilford as a grumpy veteran animator, and Teresa Gansel as the ditzy widow of the studio's founder, the show never really found its audience. NBC didn't help matters by airing episodes out of sequence, creating confusing continuity gaps. It wasn't quite as disastrous as accidentally taping over your aunt's wedding with your favorite episode of DuckTales, but it certainly didn't do the show any favors. Though it only lasted 13 episodes, The Duck Factory still stands as a fascinating glimpse into the early career of one of Hollywood's biggest stars. It's also notable for its blend of live-action and animated sequences, which earned it 2 Emmy Awards, a surprising accolade for a show that vanished faster than Chuck Cunningham on Happy Days. Okay, shameless call out for our TV characters that disappeared video. Anyway, as for the cast of The Duck Factory, Jim Carrey of course went on to become one of the biggest comedy stars in Hollywood, known for iconic roles in Ace Ventura, The Mask, Dumb and Dumber, and The Truman Show, eventually expanding into dramatic roles with films like Man on the Moon and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Teresa Gansel became a staple of TV game shows and animated voice work, while Jack Gilford continued acting in films like Cocoon and provided voice work until his passing in 1990. Number 1, It's Your Move, NBC. And finally, at number 1, we have It's Your Move, the show that gave us a teenage Jason Bateman as a scheming mastermind years before he became the sarcastic straight man on Arrested Development. Bateman played Matthew Burton, a teenage con artist living in a Van Nuys apartment with his widowed mother Eileen, played by Karen Kay, and his sister Julie, played by Trisha Cast. Matt is constantly running elaborate scams at school and around his neighborhood with the help of his best friend Eli. But his world is flipped upside down when his mom starts dating their new neighbor Norman Lamb, played by David Garrison, the same David Garrison who would later play Steve Rhodes on Married with Children. That's no coincidence. Both shows were created by Ron Levitt and Michael G. Moy, who essentially took the darker tone of It's Your Move and transplanted it into Married with Children just 3 years later. The show's signature dynamic was the battle of wits between Matt and Norman as the teenage schemer tried to sabotage his mom's relationship, while Norman proved to be a surprisingly clever opponent, constantly foiling Matt's plans. This rivalry gave the show a slightly darker, more cynical tone than most teen comedies of the era, like if Ferris Bueller had an actual nemesis who could match him move for move. One of the most memorable storylines from the series was the 2-part episode The Dregs of Humanity, in which Matt accidentally becomes the manager of a fictitious rock band made up of skeletons stolen from the school's biology lab. The scheme spirals out of control when the fake band becomes a sensation, forcing Matt to stage their tragic demise by claiming they drove off a cliff into the ocean. It's the kind of absurd plotline that perfectly captures the show's offbeat sense of humor, and it was so popular that a later episode even joked about the fake band being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The show also featured some impressive guest stars, including a young River Phoenix in the pilot, Christy Swanson, and even Jason's real-life sister, Justine Bateman, making for some fun meta-comedy. Despite its clever writing and strong performances, the show struggled to find an audience against the ratings juggernaut Dynasty on ABC. For years, rumors have swirled that the real reason for the show's cancellation wasn't just low ratings, but nervous parents worried that kids might start taking notes from Matthew's playbook, turning a generation of middle schoolers into mini schemers. Whether there's any truth to this or it's just TV urban legend, one thing's clear: the network hit the brakes hard enough to leave skid marks. Despite its short run, the creative team behind It's Your Move, Ron Levitt and Michael G. Moy, would later strike sitcom gold with Married with Children, a show that took the same subversive approach to family sitcoms and ran for 11 seasons. Today, It's Your Move remains a cult classic for fans of Bateman's early work and 80s TV oddities, a reminder that even the smartest kid in the room can't always outsmart network executives. So, where are the stars now? Well, Jason Bateman went on to become a major star with standout roles in countless films, Arrested Development, and Ozark, which clearly his role in It's Your Mom prepared him well for. I mean, can't you just see Matt growing up to be the scheming Marty Byrde? David Garrison continues to work in TV and theater. Trisha Cast became a soap opera mainstay on The Young and the Restless, earning a Daytime Emmy for her role as Nina Webster. And there you have it. That's 6 more forgotten 80s sitcoms that never quite broke through to the big leagues. How many of them did you remember? Let us know your score in the comment section below, and let us know which forgotten sitcoms you think we should cover next. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the weird, wild world of classic TV.